Hi there, this is Dr. Kathy Wright. In this video, I want to show you how to use pivot tables to analyze the Global Information Technology report from the World Economic Forum. Okay, as you know, we looked at this data set in class. It's got quite a bit of data here. You've got a number of measures here. If we look at the first row, you see you have a header called series tree. This are the descriptions of the various measures. We'll look at these in a little more detail that were examined to create indices and to identify various features of countries that would affect their network readiness. So remember series tree. Our entity code is a 3-letter code that signifies a particular country. In this case, USA, of course, is the United States. And finally, value is the value that is that particular measure for that particular country. Okay, so let's say we want to do some kind of comparison analysis of just a subset of measures with a subset of countries. A pivot table is a great way to kind of organize this data so you can analyze it correctly and effectively. So to create a pivot table, I'm going to position myself in the spreadsheet with the data, in the data set someplace, and I'm going to insert pivot table. Okay, it's going to pop up with a dialog box that outlines the full data set. Okay, and I'm going to put it in a new worksheet. Okay, to my right is my pivot table field list. Okay, and I'm going to examine those 3 fields. Series, okay, so here are the various measures, descriptions of various measures that were captured in the report, and I'm going to drag that down to my row labels. Okay, so they're going to show up as rows. My entity code, I'm going to make my column labels. Okay, so now I have across the top all of the countries that were analyzed as part of this report. And finally, I'm going to take the values and I'm going to bring them down to the data or value field. Okay. Now, when you bring it down, it may be sum of value, count of value. So what it's saying is essentially here, for most of these countries, there's one value associated with that measure in that country. That's not helpful to me. I want the actual value. So what I would do here is I would click on the drop-down arrow, and in the context menu, I would choose Value Field Settings. Okay. Of course, here we have count of value. I'm going to change to average. Since there's only one of each of these, average will give me essentially the value. I'm going to change the number format to something with 2 decimal places. Okay. All right, this looks more like some real data. Okay, so let's say I've identified 5 measures that I think are going to impact my decision. How do I just isolate those measures? Well, if I go here to this drop-down box here for the row labels, I'm going to unselect everything, and then I'm going to go down and I'm just going to pick and choose some things that I think are helpful. In the exam, you'll want to think about this a little bit more carefully. Okay. And that gives me 5 that are interesting to me. And I'm going to do the same thing or similar thing for my column labels. Let's say I want to compare just 2 countries. I want to compare, so I would unselect everything. I want to compare Australia and Canada. All right. And so now I've got my measures, descriptions of what I'm measuring. And you can see here, like, for example, venture capital availability, that's a scale of 1 to 7, 7 being best. Okay? And the grand total actually is not a grand total, it's an average of the two values, which gives you a little perspective on where the average would be. Okay, and so it's a second sheet. I would probably give this a name, something like pivot table analysis. So anybody looking at it can identify it quickly, and there is your pivot table.